Hi, everyone. Welcome to Forgotten Feminists. It's been a while. I've been really busy on my French book tour. And then I had a conference in Austria with none other than the Queen, 𝗖𝗛𝗄𝗎𝗓. And now I'm on my Spanish book tour. So it's a really busy time, but it's obviously very important for me to continue having these conversations with these incredibly just inspiring women. And today I have a treat for you. 𝗓𝗏 of 𝗔𝗕𝗎𝗓 was on a viral video that I saw a while ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, this poor girl, 14 years old, taken from America, sent to Iraq. I mean, what a horror story. But it's a TikTok, so it's a teeny little video. You don't really get much information. And I'm really, really pleased that 𝗓𝗏 has agreed to come here and talk to us some more today. 𝗓𝗏, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I saw another video where you talked a little bit about what was happening actually was you were making a video and you had dressed up in Iraqi clothing, and there was something about the moment that triggered you and reminded you of being dressed up as a young bride at the age of 14. And that video just broke my heart. And I know that anybody who saw it, it would have broken their heart as well. I want to commend you for your bravery, for not just, that video, but all of the videos that you do. And I will talk to you more about that, but I just want to rewind and bring it all from the beginning. So born and raised in America, or yeah, you were born and raised, no, you came to America when you were a baby, correct? From Iraq. Yeah. So tell me how your parents convinced 14-year-old 𝗓𝗏 to go to Iraq and get married, or did you even know that's what was happening?
No, I did not know that was happening. It was around the year 2004, 2005 when, America just had found Saddam and killed him, and then it was finally safe for us to go back to Iraq. Well, also at that same time, my parents were going through somewhat of a divorce, and my dad he took me and my sisters back to Iraq, and he got remarried. And when he got remarried, he had 3 teenage girls, and he, kind of like, oh, I don't want to deal with you guys. I don't want to have to raise you guys. I'm starting this new life. But my mom was a homemaker and didn't speak English, even though she's been in America for 30 years. So he thought that was the best route. And then at the same, also when we did go, people see a developed girl, so they were just coming and asking for my hand like daily. There was just men at the home because I was their ticket to America. I had the American citizenship. I can get them out, and just everybody was proposing, and then it just, my engagement was like 10 days, so it just happened like really quickly.
And so when you went to Iraq, your mom stayed in the States?
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't have the option of...
Yes, she stayed in the States. She was actually pregnant.
Oh my gosh. And you didn't have the option of staying with her in the States? You had to go with your dad back to Iraq? Oh no.
I'm sorry, you're cutting off.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry about that. I'll repeat the question. I was asking, so your mom was in the States and you didn't have the option of staying in the States with her?
No, we really didn't know what was going on. We didn't know. Me and my sisters were young, and in the beginning, my dad took us to Dubai. So he's like, "We're gonna go on vacation. We're gonna have fun in Dubai," and we did for a couple of weeks, and then from there we went to Iraq.
And when they started to tell you, like, hey, this guy that you've known for 10 days, we want you to marry him, how did you feel? What were you thinking? What was going on in your mind and in your body at that time?
Honestly, from then till now, there's a lot of things I can't remember exactly, but I just remember finding the most ideal person from all these men that were coming. I knew that I didn't really have a choice, that I was gonna be getting married and I was gonna go back home, and I just needed to find somebody the most suitable from the options that I had. I didn't understand the culture. I didn't understand the language when I went there. I sat different. I ate different. I talked different. So even the whole situation of marriage, I didn't understand it. I didn't know what I was getting into really.
I mean, I have a 14-year-old daughter right now. And so having this conversation is incredibly emotional for me. It's really difficult for me to imagine. I was like closer, I was 19 when this happened to me. You know, I was 18 when they tried to pressure me into a marriage with my cousin in Egypt. And but my daughter at 14 right now, like she's a baby, like she would do what I asked her to do because she's still a little kid. Like it's like you have to do what your dad says. You have to do what your family expects. The thought of rebelling or pushing back or saying no or anything, like I don't think did it even cross your mind?
No, because I didn't have an option. Like I knew what my dad's mind was set on. I knew that I didn't have a place at home anymore.
Mhm.
Um, so what was I going like? And I was in Iraq. I didn't know until I got there. So I had nobody there. We had nobody, like all our family, our cousins, our uncles, our grandparents, everybody's in America. So how
Mm,
far could I run? How far could I
yeah.
run? Especially when I didn't know the language or the culture. I didn't have any money. I can't just get in a taxi, go to the embassy and tell them what was going on. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have internet for years. So it was nearly impossible. Like it was either that or what, like death. I
There's,
don't,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's no other option.
And then even if you did have money and access to the internet, you probably, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably feel like you want to make your dad proud or you want to make your family proud and you want to be a good girl and you want to do what's expected. So, you know, they kind of use that emotional blackmail as a weapon against us as well.
Very much so. I lived like that until just a few years ago. Even, a few years ago when I did come back to America and I brought my ex with me, and nobody knew anything about really what was going on. Even my own mother, my stepmother, they were just, how did you live through this? How did you live with this person? And I said, yeah, thanks for asking. Like, you guys didn't care, like, to ask,
صباح الخير. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when they saw it, they're like, wow, like he's crazy. And but even then, my dad would say, what are you gonna do? Get a divorce? Put shame on our family? Like,
Mm,
you came here to America. Your plan was to get divorced, wasn't it? And he said, no, dad, like here's witnesses in front of you. I don't even tell you what's going on. You see it. But yeah, I mean, even at this age, until a couple years ago, I was that way, just trying to please everybody.
my God. Um, and you know, it kind of reminds me too of growing up. I grew up in an abusive household and I didn't know it was abusive. I grew up with extremist Muslims. I didn't know they were extremists because your normal is whatever your normal is when you're a kid. What are you comparing it to, right? Like it's not like you have life experiences. So if you are married to this man who is a crazy abusive asshole, you're 14 years old. Like what are you going to compare him to? Your ex-boyfriends? Like, you know what I mean? You don't have any frame of reference. You just think this is what a husband is, I suppose,
Mhm.
Um, so can you talk to us a little bit about your marriage with this person, or is that going to be too difficult?
No, I don't mind at all. It was with him, my situation was very different. A lot of people do assume generally, oh, Middle East, abusive husbands, things like that. And of course that's not true, that's not true all the time. But it was true in my situation because he knew he can get away with anything. He knew that he could hit me, he could yell at me, he could literally raise me a certain way, and I would go with that, like you said, because I had no other comparison. Like, he was really raising me and he could get away with it. What was I going to do? He knew he had that power over me, and he abused it very well. He took advantage of that. You know, when I first moved over there, I remember I got hurt so bad I couldn't move my neck. Like, he pushed me off the stairs, and I had cousins at the time, and I went to them, and they made me promise to not tell the people at the hospital what happened, and because it would cause problems and things like that. And then I realized at that young age, I said, okay, really nobody has my back. So I had to find ways to live and not be in pain, more physically than anything, because what he said went. I stayed at home, I stayed in the room, I just cooked and cleaned. I wasn't really allowed to go out much, and when he was mad at me, he would take anything, that the little things I did have, like the TV remote, or um I don't know, like whatever thing I could have for entertainment, like a little MP3 player that I had, he would take it. I would have to hide things from him, like, what I would listen to music on or something, just to hide it from him. So when he'd go to work, I could be able to listen to something. Um, it was very lonely. It was very lonely living over there. For the longest time, I didn't have any connection with my family until the last few years, when the internet was more accessible and he finally agreed to have internet in the house. And then I was able to buy a little laptop, and that's what I used to connect with my family.
Oh, so the cousins you're mentioning in Iraq, they were like from his side of the family, or?
No, they were from my side, but they were distant cousins. They were just the closest
Uh,
family I had there.
and they're still protecting this person over you when he hurt your neck so badly that you couldn't move?
Yes, they didn't want any legal problems, and again, the cultures over there is like, pretty much like, oh, you're the American, you're not used to this, like, get used to it, this is our
Mm.
life. um Really just programming me to what their normal was, even if it wasn't normal for their daughters, it was going to be normal for me, because they also knew, they're like, what are you going to do, like,
Mm.
just be your husband, we don't want to deal with this either.
My God. And your dad was still in Iraq at this time?
No, after 2 weeks of me being married, he brought everybody back home, including his new bride. So yeah,
Wow.
nobody.
Oh my God. So you were truly and totally and completely isolated. And we can't forget that you're an American too. So not only are you isolated as an individual, but you're isolated in a society, in a culture, in a community, and a country that is not your own. Like, that it's your parents, but it's not yours. You're still going to be feeling like a fish out of water on so many different levels. And so tell me about when you were 15 and you got pregnant.
I remember when I first got married, it took me a few months to get pregnant, and I would constantly hear negative talk from his family, like, oh, she probably can't have kids, within literally 3-4 months. Oh, like, we should have not gotten him married to this girl and things like that. And then I finally was able to get pregnant within a few months, and I feel like my dad really had maybe some guilt, and that's when he came and took me from Iraq to America to have my first son. I was about like 6, 7 months pregnant, and of course, like, there was no decent hospitals. I had nobody to go in labor with me, nobody to take care of me after. So I feel like he had some of that guilt, and he was going to be, a grandfather for the first time. So I came back to America, had my first child, and then after 4 or 5 months, when I got his shots, his citizenship, everything, I went back. About a year later, I got pregnant again. Even getting pregnant was never really my choice. I wasn't allowed to leave the house. He wouldn't let me get on birth control because he said it was haram. Um, so I got pregnant with my second son. When I came back with my second son, my aunt was visiting Iraq and she brought me back with her to America. And when I had him, I about 8, 9 months when I was getting ready to go back, he had a seizure in the morning while I was changing him. And it was during all through my pregnancy, I was studying for my GED because I never really went to high school. I never went to college. So I was studying for my GED while I was pregnant. And the day that I was finally going to take the test, it's a 2-day test all day. I was changing him and he had a seizure. We took him to the hospital. He kept having one after the other after the other. So he was admitted in the hospital for 2 to 3 years on and off, trying to just get him stable. So I couldn't go back to Iraq where my husband was. So I stayed here. And then of course I took advantage of that time. I got my GED and then I went to like a training institute to become a medical assistant. And I worked for about a year. And when he got better, my dad took me back. But because I stayed here for 3 years, because I had some sort of independence and freedom, and he was over there, he was just like really angry about the situation. He kept telling me, come home, come home. I said, your son is dying in my arms almost every day. I'm not coming. He is in the hospital. And he just didn't care. He just hated the fact that he could not control me so much. So when I did go back in 2011, he really bottled up all that anger towards me more than before. And that's when it got really bad. And that's when he, like trapped me there for 7 years and took away like my passports, my money, everything from me. And then, yeah, things got worse there.
Oh my God. I mean, people read my book and they're like, I cannot believe that you survived what you've been through. Like, and I'm always telling them, like, you guys, you have no idea. Like, my story isn't even that bad. If you just listen to, so many other women have been through so much more. And a lot of those women, you'll never even hear their voices because they're still trapped in these situations. But, I mean, listening to you talk is really, really hard not to break down in tears. Like, it's just unfathomable to me how, you said 7 years and I just can't believe that. Oh no. Have I frozen again? Am I frozen, you guys? No. Okay. Ellaf is frozen. Okay.
I'm sorry, you're cutting off this whole time.
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying that, just that you're saying that it got worse and that it was so much worse and he cut you off from, everything and everyone for 7 years. Like, I was expecting you to say like, I was hoping I would hear, and then I like went back to America like the next year or something, or within that year, but this is actually a much longer, tragedy than I known. Oh no, you're frozen again. Okay, we'll wait for Ellaf to come back to us.
I'm sorry, was that me?
Yeah, you keep freezing.
Oh,
but that's okay. You're here now. You're unfrozen. So I know you said that it was worse when you left the States because he had all of this pent up anger and all of these years of him not being able to control you. But I would assume, if I put myself in your shoes, that it was probably worse for you too, because you tasted a little bit of freedom and independence, and now you're going back to being a prisoner again. It's harder than it was when you were 14 and didn't know anything about independence. But now you've got, your education, you've got a career, and those things are being ripped away from you. Tell me about that time in Iraq. Like, were you trying to get access to, a laptop or connection to family or to the American embassy? Like, tell me about that time.
So just to be clear, even when I did come back to America, the reason my dad and my ex kind of got along pretty well is because they are very similar. Even when I was here, my dad didn't let me have a phone. He didn't let me go out. He didn't let me have friends. I bought a car, but I wasn't allowed to really use it. Things like that. So when he knew that my ex-husband was very similar, he was very okay with it. I sometimes tell people like, oh, like my dad didn't know, the majority of my family didn't really know to the extent, but my father did. He knew, and he was okay with it. And he was more than okay with it because I was out of his hair. I was out of his way. And that's all he wanted. So when I went back in the beginning, my dad did trick me. He did, because when I went back that time, I did do a visa for him. He did get it. His passport was stamped. I worked. I saved a lot of money. I got this tax return. So my dad told me, he's like, okay, let's go get him and let the kids visit their grandparents. I was like, okay. Me being naive and believing him, I said, okay. And I really had all my stuff saved up here. Like I was getting ready to start an apartment, everything. And then when he took me, he's like, no, you're staying. And that's when I was more hurt than anything because of my father and what he did and repeatedly did. So I didn't have internet or phone for a while, but I knew that I didn't want to stay there. I knew I didn't want to continue to live like that. My dad, I feel like it was from guilt, would send me $100 every month when I was in Iraq. When I was over there, he sent me $100 every month. And we were like, his family, my ex's family, were very poor. We would get sometimes breakfast, but like lunch and dinner, and that was it. And you got what you got during that time. Sometimes it was very measured, so if you still were hungry, then you're hungry like until dinner. So from that $100, I would use half of it to buy my kids extra snacks for when they woke up. So I'd buy like a box of crackers or juice or something and just save it for them throughout the month and give it to them. Like when I asked my husband, oh, well, can they have what was equivalent to a quarter or 50 cents? Can they have this for when they wake up from their nap? He said, no, like I gave them yesterday. Why do you always want money from me? So he really depended on that $100 for me to get whatever I needed, everything I needed, whether it be a comb, a toothbrush, clothes, a blanket, whatever we needed depended on that $100. And so I would use 50 of it for necessities, and then 50 I would use every month to save and buy gold. I would save that money, and if somebody in the neighborhood was selling their ring for 200, I would take it and give them 50 every month, and then to the next one and to the next one. And I just knew that was my savings. That was something he couldn't take from me. I couldn't have the cash and him not take it from me. I couldn't go out and buy something. I couldn't have a bank account. So that was my way of saving for my escape. And I looked at my kids and I said, like, I just can't, even though I was smarter, even though maybe this time I could get in a car, go to the embassy, get my passport and come back to America. There's no way I could have left them, even though I was young, even though I was not as intelligent as I am now, that there was no way I could leave them behind,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I used. I used gold for my plan to escape. During that time when I was there, I got pregnant with my daughter, also not really by choice. But with her, it was a different experience because I couldn't come back. And I was about 21, 22 when I had her. But and all of them, I didn't get no prenatal care. He just says, you're fine. What do you need it for? He would just take me when I was almost going to have a baby to find out the gender. That was it. So I never got prenatal care. I never got really taken care of, nothing like that. So when I was in labor, he was mad at me for some reason. And I kept telling him, take me to the hospital. And over there, there's no medical insurance. You know, you see a doctor, you give $50, $100 here and there. And I said, take me to the hospital. He's like, where's your money? I was like, I don't have any, like, I don't have any right now. And he's like, okay, then I guess I'll just have to suffer. Yeah, and it was him like not believing me too. Like he thinks I was being dramatic, and I'm like, okay. So then I was just pacing in the living room, and it was 10 p.m. and his dad is like, she's in labor, and he's like, I'll take her later. I'll take her later. And I just sat there in my room, and I just had my daughter.
Oh,
Yeah, and then he finally said, okay, well, I'll go get the midwife. And he got the midwife, and she did everything, gave me some medicine for like antibiotics, and that was it, you know. um I mean, there's nothing they could have done to keep me alive. Like, you know, he tried everything, and I at that moment, I remember I was like, hey, I'm probably gonna die right now, you know? I really thought I would die from him killing me, but I'm probably gonna die from this. And I don't know. I mean, we're both really good, you know, and healthy. So
I'm really glad to hear that you're both healthy right now. Oh my God. How did you do it? How did you eventually get away from him? And with your 3 children, how did you manage that?
when we got internet connection and things with ISIS got really bad, even though they were in the northern Iraq and we were south, everybody that was in, you know, a soldier was just going back and not coming. Everything got really bad. Um, so my sister talked to him and she said, well, you know, you married her to get to America, so let's work on your paperwork and bring you guys back. And he said, okay. So it took 2 years. I had a lawyer here in America, and I had my laptop, and I would email my sister and my mom and scan documents and send them back and forth. And, you know, we'd go to Baghdad as needed, got new passports. And finally, when the time came, that's when I sold my gold. And luckily, I had enough for it. So the five of us, I'm sorry, our tickets to America would have been about $6,000, and I had about 4,000. And my dad was visiting at the time, so I asked him for money, and he gave it to me. And that's when I just got online, booked our tickets, and came.
Booked our tickets, meaning you and your kids.
And him.
Oh, okay.
Because there was no way I could come back without him. No way he was gonna let me. And so I worked for 2 years, from like 2015 to 2017, just waiting for his visa. So I had to bring him here. And my real intention was, you know, he's gonna come, he's gonna be happier, he's not gonna go through all the trauma that he's going through. Maybe, you know, living a new life will help him feel better. Maybe he'll stop being abusive, maybe his personality will change.
Mhm.
It didn't, not at all. I didn't think, you know, I felt like I was being delusional, but he came and it just kept getting worse and worse. And he wasn't scared. He wasn't scared of the law. He wasn't scared of anything. But eventually like when I told him I wanted to go to school and continue education, he put me down. He would call me horrible things and say I was inconsiderate and selfish for taking time away from the family. I worked nights at the hospital so I could be there in the day, and he would always make sure to be really loud, to turn up the TV when I try to sleep in the day. Just horrible, horrible things, even like turning lights on. And I would call his family and I tell him, I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I don't know what to do with your son. And they told me straight up, they told me his dad is like, whatever you do, we're okay with it.
Oh,
They said, if you brought him to America and he still can't be a decent human, do whatever
mhm.
you need. You need to kick him out. You need to put him in jail. You do it. They're like, we don't know what to do with him anymore either. Yeah, so they knew I was there for 12 years with them, and they knew that they said you were there with us. You never complained of having little, or to nothing. You never, you were always there. You always did your best. And they said we don't even blame you anymore.
So what did you do? How did you get him away from you and your kids?
Um, so it was one day. So I was renting a house across the street from my dad's, and one day we got in a fight. We was, constant fighting, but I was calling a friend of ours back home in Iraq. They're a couple that we would know from back there. And I was calling them on the phone with them, and I was just saying, guys, like I just don't know what to do, and trying to like find a solution and vent to somebody. And he walked in, came home, and I put my
Mm.
phone down. And he's like, why'd you put your phone down? And I said, relax, I will tell you, just relax. And he just got really, really angry. And then he called my son and he said, Zane, get me a knife. So my son was like 5. So he went and got a knife. He grabbed it from behind the door, and he had me cornered, like right in a corner, and the knife was just poking at me. And it was the second time that week. And my dad walked in, because my dad just happened to come in, and my dad walked in, and he yelled at him for a bit and whatever, but he didn't yell at him, oh my daughter, like could you do this? He was saying, oh, you idiot, she's gonna call the cops now.
Oh,
What? Yeah.
oh,
So looking back, I just like, well, they were arguing. I literally snuck and crawled out of the room, went to the bathroom, and my phone was like in my clothes. I texted my sister. I was like, call the cops right now. I said, I cannot call. If I call, they will probably break the door down and get to me before the cops. Call the cops right now. I will not get out of the bathroom until they do. So they did. They came and arrested him. He was in jail for about 2 days. His
mm.
bail was 20 grand, but unfortunately, domestic violence is a big issue in the state I live in, and it was just another domestic violence issue. So they let him out. When he came back out, I wouldn't let him back in the house. Really, he had his, like, I got him a hotel, and I told him, I was like, look, I don't want to deport you. I don't want you to be in jail. I don't want child support from you. I don't want anything from you. You can wake up and go to sleep any day, see your kids, whatever you want. I will help you. I will help you. And I will get you your own apartment, everything. But he said, no. He said, no, I came here. You're going to take care of me, and I'm going to do what I want and be in the house where I want to be. Like, I'm not going to live on my own. You're going to take care of me. And like, what do you mean I don't get to hit you and the kids when I want? No, like it was just unacceptable for him. So one day we woke up and he was just gone. Like, he really just chose going back rather than a better life, because he could not control us like he used to. So he just chose to go back.
So he went
And
back to Iraq.
yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a merit. Like, I'm grateful that he did, but he left before he got citizenship then.
Yes, but he has his green card, which is, I believe, good for 10 years, but he's too scared to come back because he's
Good.
scared that I will put him in jail.
Good, 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 good. So, oh, that's wonderful. So that's amazing. I'm really glad to hear that. So you basically said, like, you're not coming back in this house, and if you try, I'm calling the cops again. And so he was too afraid to. Ah, my God. I mean, like, that is enough trauma for like 6 lifetimes already. But now you're a single mom to 3 children. You are under 30 still at this point, right? Like, how old are you? You're like somewhere in your 20s.
26, 27 at that time.
26, 27 with 3 kids on your own. And you're not expecting your dad to be of any kind of support. Obviously, he's been nothing useful all these years. Why would he suddenly be a decent person? Was there anybody in your life, or was it just you? What did you do now?
So in the beginning, my father told me, he's like, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do. You're going to put up your schedule on the fridge, and you're gonna move in, and you're gonna get a room for you and your kids, and you're gonna pay a couple $100 to your stepmom to cook some extra food for you guys. He told me that. So, and then pretty much like my schedule is the only time I'm allowed to leave the house. And in the beginning, I said, okay. And then I I don't know, I just was like, "You know what? No.
Mhm.
F you."
Mhm.
I'm just like, "No, I'm good." And I told him, I remember that day, I told him, I was like, "You know what? I don't need you. I don't need anybody. I'm going to do
Exactly.
this. I'm gonna go to school and I'm gonna work and I'm going to support these kids. I'm gonna do it all." He straight, like, in front of me just laughed so hard, and I still remember that laugh, and he pointed, he said, "You?" He said, "You?" He said, "I give it a few years and your kids are gonna be in the street selling drugs. Like, you can't, there's no way." He's like, "Yeah, right." So I said, "Okay, thanks," you know. So I got my own apartment, and then after that, the only way that I could work and go to school and be a mom was to work at the hospital. Luckily, I got my medical assistant degree, so I got a job at the hospital working 3 night shifts. So I would work 3 12-hour shifts from 7 to 7, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. And that way, when I get off Sunday morning, I could take the kids to school. Then I can go to school Monday through Friday and do that all over again.
Oh
But at
my
least I
God.
was there for them. I was working full time, and I was in school taking anywhere from 17 to 21 credit hours, and full time is 12. But I couldn't see anything else in my direction. I couldn't see anything else in making it. I couldn't see anything else than doing what I needed to. And yeah, my dad really gave me a lot of motivation to do
Yeah.
that. Um, I did, after 2 years of just being on my own, I got several degrees and associate degrees and honors. I bought my first home. I bought a brand new car. I started a business, and they're just, watching, and they are in disbelief. And you know, I couldn't let my kids down. If they didn't have a grandfather or a grandmother in their life, or a father or an aunt or uncle to be here for them, there's no way I was gonna let them down.
Oh my
Mm.
God, that's amazing. Wow. True rags to riches story. Like that's so, I mean, you are such an inspiration. That's I'm so happy to hear that. And your dad, like, is he now apologetic? Does he realize like how wrong he was? Or how did he react to you, taking off your hijab, divorcing, living on your own, just being an independent woman and making your own decisions, and no longer, being this girl that he or the man he chose for you to marry that could control you?
He was not happy about it. Not at all. And it's weird because he doesn't treat my other siblings really like this. I have a sibling that is very outspoken, so she never let any of this happen to her, luckily. Of course, my brother, like, he didn't care, to do that to him because he's a boy, things like that. But after I got divorced, I was wearing the hijab, and the honest truth is, and people assume a lot of things online because I don't address it, but I never really cared to take the scarf off, the hijab. I never was like, I need to just take this off and do that. Like, I didn't feel oppressed wearing it, not at all. But I was like, on top of everything I was doing, I was experiencing extreme racism. I was living in an apartment. The person below me would constantly call like the management. And then one day when I went to work in the middle of the night at 1 a.m., my kids were scared to death because they were hiding in the closet, and the cops were banging the windows because she was just complaining. I didn't understand why, because my kids were quiet, they were good. And when I asked somebody else, I said, "Why is this neighbor doing this to me?" And she's like, "Because you're Muslim, she wants you out, so she is going to do that." I went to management and I told them, I was like, "I swear I will put a team of lawyers for you and a team of lawyers on her. This is ridiculous." But they eventually got her out. It wasn't my only encounter with racism. I mean, I worked at the hospital. I've had patients hit me, slap me, kick me out of their rooms. I worked for government programs for detoxing people off drugs, and they would say, "No, I will never let a Muslim touch me. I'm a proud this and that." And, of course, they were intoxicated and stuff. But when it came to and I had a state case, like the state came and they searched my home and my fridge because my neighbor, what she did to me. And I thought, okay, I came all the way here. I came out of Iraq. I got rid of my dad. I got rid of my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And now this lady is doing this to me. I said, when, like, there's no way I could like let them down now. So between me, I thought I needed to hide this part of my identity. Whether I believed in it, whether I didn't, whether I was seen as a good Muslim or not, I just needed to hide this and be invisible to people and not stand out. And once I did take it off, people started just treating me normal again. My dad didn't like it. He told me, of course, he was assuming all these other things, and he was saying, well, just keep it on and live the life you want. Like, just keep it on. And he didn't care really about religion. He cared more about what people said. And so he was upset when I took it off, but I knew I needed to, for my safety, really, because I had nobody else. If my kids were going to go in foster care, who was going to be there for them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And was it easy for you to divorce him? I assume it was probably, your father was saying a lot about the shame of the family and all that stuff.
So he talked a lot about that, but my ex finally just agreed to do that right away. And I've heard his voice maybe once or twice since he left. And usually it's just him harassing me, like through another number or a different social media account. But he's never asked to talk to his kids. He's never asked to talk to them or hear their voice. He just needs to make sure that he can still harass me. And he still does. He still makes fake accounts online and calls me from random numbers, things like that.
I'm struck by how, how you just can't escape, like you get away from your father and then you end up with this guy. You get away from this guy, and then you're facing so much racism. And, through it all, you just keep on powering through and you keep pushing forward and you keep being, an amazing role model for your kids. And, I hope now things have settled for you.
Yes, definitely. I've changed a lot. I've gone through therapy. I found my my coping mechanisms through working out, exercising, spending time with my kids, and through education. I went on to finish my bachelor's in international studies and criminology, and I became the 𝗪𝗀𝗡 chair for the Pre-Law Society. I've worked on amazing community programs for refugees and immigrants, and now I'm doing my graduate degree in business. And me and my kids are here, and we came and they were young in elementary, and now almost all of them are taller than me in high school, and it's a blessing to see. And all these other hardships that I may go through with my business or with school or personal, it's nothing compared to before. We're always very thankful. And my kids, I talk to them a lot. We have this strong relationship where I talk to them about my past, and I talk to them about what they could encounter now, and we have a really strong bond. And we eat dinner together, and my kids open up to me about their experiences, and I do as well. So just being safe and not being in fear is the biggest blessing. Like everything else is just an add-on for us.
Yeah. I remember seeing a video with, I think it was probably your eldest son, where he's taller than you, I think. Yeah, he was just getting his driver's license or something. Yeah, and it was just like, it broke my heart when you mentioned that you were like 15 when you had him, and he's 16 now, is he?
He's 15 now.
Oh, he's 15 now. So that's what it was. It was the fact that like, this was the age that you were when you had him. Like, oh my God. And now your kids can truly appreciate how amazing it is, because, it's hard for kids to get it when they're young, but now when they get to be around the same age that you were when you were doing these things, now they get it. Now they're like, holy shit, mom. You're pretty amazing. Like, yeah.
They've always been really, really mature, especially my oldest. People, sometimes ask me, well, who was staying with your kids when you're working at nights? And so he was 10 years old, and then the younger one was like 8 or 9, and my daughter was 3 or 4. And I will just say straight up, like, they did stay home alone a lot. And that's why I had to pay for such an expensive apartment, because I was staying in a, safer area and a safer neighborhood. But what was I supposed to do? Like, I just was really determined to get my education, and I needed to work. So he was very mature. At 10 years old, he had a phone, and he knew that, how to heat up dinner and how to make dinner. And if they did hear a sound, to go in the closet and to be quiet, to not open the curtain, like all these things. We've always had a plan. And now some days, like, I don't come home till night, and I come home, I get in my room, I take a shower, I come out, and he's made an amazing dish. And I'm like, when did you make this? And he's always been supportive. He's been my best friend through it all.
Oh
He's
my
been
gosh.
he's been the like longest lasting person in my life that I've never been apart from. My
Oh,
kids, but specifically him, the longest.
yeah. Oh, that is so wonderful. A lot of, my story is very different from yours in a lot of ways, but with my daughter, I always kind of imagined like one day her and I would be best friends. And then that kind of propelled me forward. Like, it's okay that I'm alone with a baby right now, but soon she's going to grow up and the two of us are going to be besties. And then, so that was always, that kind of carrot that pushed me forward. And I know exactly what you mean. Like, it was just me and her against the world. I didn't have 3 kids. I just had her. But very much that feeling of like, we are each other's everything. So that's really wonderful. The chat is absolutely blowing up. So I'm going to welcome the rest of the group here to chat with you, to ask you questions, to share their comments with you. Can you see the chat there, Ellaf? Scroll through it. I mean, there's no way you're gonna be able to read through it, but most of it is telling you how wonderful you are and thanking you for sharing your story with us. I'll be honest, I haven't been able to read a lot of them as well because I was listening to you. But if anybody wants to unmute their microphone, please do so now, or click on the little hand icon on the bottom there where it says reactions, and let me know that you have something to say to Ellaf. Yes, Chandler.
Ellaf, I'd love to ask you about your kids and how, what their attitudes are, if they feel themselves to be completely American, if they feel themselves to be Muslim, or more generally religious, if they believe in God. They seem to know everything. I'd love to know just what their positions are on generally all of these things.
Sure. So one thing about me is I didn't want to raise my kids in a way saying, okay, guys, we're Muslim, or okay, guys, this is, I didn't want to put barriers on who they wanted to be. For me, and growing up and saying, okay, this is who you are, and just being controlled, even my thoughts and my personality, everything, I wanted to steer away from that. My parents also try to protect me by isolating me from the world, from boys, from music, from whatever they felt like was corrupt. So they felt like if we keep you away from it, you're going to be good, and you're not going to want to do that. You're not going to want to be a part of it. But the thing is, teenagers are, and kids in general, they're curious. They want to learn. And I tell them, I tell them, do what you want, listen to what you want, be who you want. I'm never going to tell you what to do. And they do identify, as Middle Eastern with like their ethnicity. And I believe that they feel a strong connection to Islam, but I wouldn't say we're a religious family in the sense, but I'm not telling them that they can't be, and I'm not telling them that they can. I just want them to be them. I just want them to figure who they are. They're all very different, like so different. They look similar, but they act very different. But I do pride myself on teaching them morals, and whatever religion or not a religion, I feel like they're all the same fundamentals. Don't steal, don't hurt anybody, don't cheat, things like that. And I think that's just more important than teaching them to go in a certain direction.
I'm interested have they shown political, as kids often do. I was identified as liberal from, well, I don't know. I sort of identified as centrist. I'm getting a little bit more liberal with age, except for wokeism, obviously. Have they identified as anything? Do they talk about politics? They talk about who they want to vote for?
No, they're all under 15. They don't really talk about voting, but there's this one guy in the media that they're a fan of, and I just hate it. What's his name? That is just very controversial, and I think he became Muslim recently.
Oh God.
Do you know what's
Leora, we were talking about him in our chat. I don't know who the guy is too, but he's
Andrew Tate. Andrew.
Yeah,
He's American?
Tate guy.
Yes.
yeah, he's American, Chandler, but apparently he's like a misogynist pig anyway. So
Is he the one from Iran?
No.
No, he's
There was one
think I
guy
heard
who
about-
came to
I heard
America
about him.
from Iran and became was secular for a long time, and then recently, no, I'm confusing. He chose Catholicism. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I did hear about this. Yeah, they follow him.
they feel empowered by him in a way, and as just like all other teenage boys do. And I tell him, I was like, you need to grow out of this phase really quickly. He's just horrible, but they do listen to him, unfortunately. I don't think they take it serious, but they pick and choose. I guess there's some things that he says that sound valid to them, but no, nothing really political yet.
Andrew is the name, sorry.
yeah, Andrew Tate, I think someone said. I think that, oh yeah, thank you, Paula. I think that that kids probably in some ways, when somebody converts to Islam, they kind of feel like validated by that, like, oh, it's a cool religion that somebody would choose to become a Muslim. Because I know that really happened, well, obviously with Muhammad Ali, and it happened with Cat Stevens, and it happened, with Sinead O'Connor. She didn't really get that much celebration, but whenever there's like some kind of celebrity person, the Muslim community always just gets so excited that that their religion is being validated by a celebrity. So, I don't know anything about this Andrew Tate person as an individual and what he's famous for. Aaliyah's saying he's a boxer, but yeah, it might just be that. It might just be like, oh, it's cool that he's becoming a Muslim, but let's hope that they're not being attracted to his sexist, really gross things like that he's into. So
Our boys actually followed certain influencers and stuff, and we have one who went through a really bad time with rap and took all that stuff seriously and was very sort of inner city, misogynistic, anti-LGBT. I mean, even though we're a gay couple, the anti-gay crap.
Your son?
Yeah, one of them.
Anti-LGBT? He's got two dads.
It didn't make any sense, and he would never himself have. It's part of growing up. He went through 2 years.
They just push, rebel,
and probably pushing our buttons, and then totally grew out of it.
Oh,
and is wiser for it. So
yeah. Well, we'll look forward to that day for you, Ellaf.
Me too.
But speaking of internet celebrity, one of your videos went viral, and it was the one, well, a few of your videos went viral, but one of them I wanted to address was the one where you showed yourself in hijab beforehand, when you were forced into this marriage as a teenager, and then showing yourself today, an empowered woman. And you were getting accusations of Islamophobia.
Oh, still to this day, it's almost been a year since that video's been out, and it's going nonstop. I understand their perspective when they say they see me, you know, before wearing it, and then now I'm free and happy and things like that, and they're associating it. They're hurt. They're being judgmental, but I never. And the thing is, like I said, whether I do, you know, see myself as a Muslim or not, or atheist, whatever I may identify myself as, none of my videos have ever put anybody down in a negative way, any religion, any culture. And it was just during that time of my life, that's how I looked, that's how I dressed, those are the pictures that I have, and this is what I am now. Empowering myself, getting an education, all the things has nothing to do with, you know, putting down a religion or a culture, whatever my personal views are. It just happens to be my story, and I'm allowed to share it. I'm allowed to talk on it. And if I'm not talking about you in a negative way, why are you coming at me like that? But then, you know, people have to, they have to put others down. They have to feel intimidated or defend themselves. And, you know, I just don't associate myself with that. And it's okay, because now TikTok is paying me for my views, and the more they talk and that I'm totally okay with it.
Keep watching and hating, guys, as long as you're clicking.
Yeah, because TikTok is paying me for your views. So I'm
That's
good.
awesome. That's awesome. It is really frustrating to me to hear that, though, because, you know, it's the same kind of thing that they're doing to women in Iran. Like, we can't, or they did to me. Like, we can't share our own traumas. We can't share our own stories, our own perspectives, our own personal experiences are considered hateful. Like, they're considered Islamophobic or whatever. Like, it's just, it's so demeaning. Like, it's so mean, it's cruel, it's so cruel that we've been through this trauma, and then to talk about it, which is the very least that we can do at this point to help our healing. And we are the bad guys for doing that. We are the bad guys for speaking up against our own traumas and our own vicious experiences. It's just horrible. I'm sorry you went through that, but I'm very glad that it's working out for you anyway. I mean, the same thing happens to me when they read my book and then they tell me, you know, what an Islamophobe I am. I'm like, thanks for reading.
You're a fan.
Yeah. Nirvan, you wanted to say something? Did I see your hand go up?
No, but I mean, every time you think that you have heard everything, there comes another story that completely baffles you, and it's all inspiring. Ellaf, I mean, I'm having goosebumps while I'm even talking, you know. And every time I hear this story, I'm like, okay, stop complaining about your own life, man. People have gone through worse. I just can't believe what kind of a mental makeup does a father have to see her kid going through that. So just wanted to thank you for letting me be part of it. That's all I can say. I really am. I'm dumbfounded. I have nothing to say. So before it turns into gibberish, I'll just stop.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, and everybody here and listening, and letting me, and thank you, Yasmine, for letting me share my story in detail. And, you know, I'm available online if anybody ever wants to talk or message me. I check my messages, and I'm available if anybody ever, you know, needs anything. So thank you guys. It means a lot to me.
Thank you. I think that Nirvan's sentiments are probably echoed throughout this whole group right now. We're all feeling the same way, just completely in awe of you and of your strength and what you've overcome. And I will definitely share these videos that we've been referring to in the link description under YouTube here, and the link to your Instagram or your TikTok, and all the places where people can find you and connect with you.
I really want to watch your videos, 𝗏𝗧. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, let me know what you think once you see them.
I will.
Leora, you wanted to say something?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to thank her for having the courage to share her story with us. I mean, I'm truly inspired, and I admire your strength, and I admire your intelligence to save the money that will give many women an idea on how to escape. I mean, I also remember feeling so emotional when after seeing your video with the photo shoot with Manny. I still remember everything because I repeated that many times, because every time I watch it, I just feel inspired more and more to see where you've become. So I just have a question in regards of your amazing mom. I know that you shared a few videos before, and I was really, I admired how you guys have this level of understanding and acceptance after everything that happened. Because I know for myself and many, we don't have a relationship with our mothers because of the decision that we made. So I just want to know if you can tell us about the story, if you can share that experience and what happened, and that will maybe hopefully give other mothers the inspiration to just work through the issues between their daughters and maintain a relationship. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. So through all this, and my father, he got remarried, and I was on my own when I came to New Mexico, and all my family, my mother and my siblings, the rest of them live in Detroit, Michigan. So I never got to really build a connection with my mother. My mother did also, I feel like, was not happy about me taking the scarf off. She wasn't happy about my lifestyle, but she lived in Michigan and I was here, and she was never negative to me in any way, but she was also remarried and on her, doing what she was doing, like her life. But through growing up, my mom came and visited me a few years ago, and I was so anxious because in the past 15 years or so, I've only seen her once or twice when she visited in Iraq. So when she was coming to visit me, I was super anxious because, of course, she's my mother and she means a lot to me. But I felt proud of myself. I felt like my definition of success was, everything I was talking about, and coming here and having my own home. And now my mother was coming to visit my home. And I was really anxious to make sure everything was perfect and that my mom would be comfortable and be proud of her daughter. But when she came, and not saying my mom purposely does this, but my mom has been in America for 30 years and still doesn't speak English. She's still very much traditional Middle Eastern woman that grew up in the country as well, like no education or anything. So her mindset is still the same as it was before 30 years ago. So when she sees me and I'm proud of everything, she was not proud of it, because her idea of success is a successful marriage, is a mother being at home and cooking good meals for her kids. And I realized that my idea of success and my definition is not theirs. It's not my sisters. It's not my brothers. It's not my exes. My definition of success is what I want it to be, whether it be the money, the strength, the family, the friends, whatever that is, that's mine. And I feel that everybody has their own definition of success, and I needed to accept that to move on, to really grow, to not resent anybody for not being there for me. And that's why I feel like I'm able to be good on my own, because it's my dream. The life that I want is my dream. It's my goal. It's not anybody else's. I don't need to get it approved from anybody else. I don't need anybody to believe in me. And that's what really kept me strong. Another just advice for maybe somebody that's going through similar is I was in Iraq. I had no power, no rights. I had nothing but my mindset. And that was something that nobody could take away from you. And it's the strongest thing, it's the strongest asset, is your mind. If you think that you can get out of your situation, then you will find a way, because your brain will focus on that and will find a way. If you believe that you are doomed and this is your life and that is it, because that could have been me very easily, and that could have been fine, because that would have been my mindset and I would have to be okay with that, but it wasn't. He could not take my mindset from me. I would sit down in Iraq and I had a paper and pencil and I would write down everything I wanted. Everything I'm doing right now, I wrote down before I came to America. I wrote down that I'm going to work 3 days, 3 nights. I wrote down that I'm going to go to school. I wrote down the degree I wanted, you know? So I lived that. I put myself in that situation. I manifested that. So I know it's so hard when you're, you know, in a domestic violence situation and you feel like, oh, they're going to come, they're going to kill you. No, there's resources, you know. I feel like in the majority of countries, there's options, there's ways to get out of that. When it comes to your family disowning you and feeling so lonely, like I said, all these blessings that I've gotten now don't compare to the pain that I felt before. Like, it feels worth it. It feels so much more worth it. My kids are so appreciative. I've never brought groceries in the home without my kids hugging me and kissing me. Thank you. I cook, I sit down, they're like, thank you, mom. They're just so appreciative because they know what it feels like to have nothing. So when you struggle and you find a way out of it, you are going to be so much happier than the person that's all had it their whole life. So you should be proud of that. And that's what I have to say.
Wow. I had another guest named Iman, another forgotten feminist from Saudi Arabia, and she commented on the fact that all of us have that similarity. All of us sort of did this visualization, this constant, you know, like you said, your mindset, like they can't take that away from you, this dreaming, hoping, wishing, planning, preparing, like we all did that. And it's pretty amazing because now I feel like I'm going to actually start asking my forgotten feminists and test Iman's theory and see how, you know, if it's true, because it was definitely true for me. It was true for her. It's true for you, Ellaf. And I can see Leora raising her hand. It was true for her as well. You know, maybe that's the thing that allowed us to survive this when so many others don't. Maybe it's because our minds never let us accept that this is our reality, but that our minds are always pushing us to see something else, a reality that we want to manifest. Amazing. Anya and then Sahara.
Hi, everybody. Ellaf. I just want to tell you there are so many powerful lessons running through my head right now from your story. But what I want to express is that we're all moved not only by your pain that you went through, but your courage and brilliance and determination. And whatever love and support you've been missing growing up and getting on your 2 feet, you're having it now from all of us. And it's not going to end. We are with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Beautiful, Anya. Thank you, Anya. That's beautiful. Sahara.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Ellaf. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the No to Momo and the Haram Club. It's always fun. Your story is so powerful, and we are so proud of you. I have a chill everywhere, you know. I have a tear. You can't see me. I can't turn the camera. My hair is kind of crazy. I just put it air condition my beautiful curly hair. But you know, you are so right. What you just said regarding about not giving up, you know, the dreams, and also having this vision that, you know, even if the world is against you, it's okay. You're gonna survive because you have this mindset. it's going to be okay. You're going to survive this. It's going to be whatever you're working toward. It's going to be a better world. So I 100% agree with you. And that's how I survived. And so many other survivors, you know, survived because we had this dream. I had a different world. I dreamed different world. And that's why I'm here today. And I'm fortunate. And we all fortunate. And don't give up yourself, even if it's against everybody against you and you feel like you're the only one. Still, if you fall, get up, that's yourself. Keep dreaming and keep fighting. And thank you for being here, because your story really resonates and it relates to so many people, you know, that are silent. And we are just proud of you. I don't even know what to say, but we are proud of you. Congratulations for your freedom and for fighting and for not giving up, even when everything was against you. Thank you. And for fighting for yourself and for your children, your precious little children. And here you are today, you are sharing your story. So other girls, especially Muslim background girls, I mean, I'm not saying these stories don't happen in other cultures, but it's more common in the Muslim community. And what makes me sick to my stomach is that I grew up different world from you guys. Then I grew up in Kenya. I grew up in a camp, and you grew up in a free kind of quotation. I should put it, I don't know what's free nowadays, because you are being even silent, just sharing your story. But you grew up in the United States and you are taken overseas, and it's very sick. It's very sick how your story is so empowering, even though it's heartbreaking and very emotional. But your story can lift up so many people that who's in this situation. You're gonna be okay. Just keep fighting. You are not alone. There's so many people who are in this situation, and we need to hear your story. Stories like yours need to be in the mainstream media, and that's what frustrates me. Why is it your story are not in NPR, these like big platform that who claim to be, oh, we want to help brown people and, you know, Middle Easterns, people who are being oppressed. But when you're being oppressed by your own people, these stories are being silent, and we need to just keep speaking, use our voices, and say no to Momo and F the rest. And I just want to say congratulations and welcome to the club, the Haram Club. Thank you for being here, and thanks Yasmine for having these conversations. Love and peace to everybody.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, Iman's theory is turning out to be so correct, because Sahara also, she's one of my very first forgotten feminists. And in fact, my very first forgotten feminist is here, Aaliyah, and she also confirms same thing, that she was, she also had 3 kids when she was able to get away from her husband, who she was forced two kids?
Yeah,
Two, sorry. But same thing, child marriage to a man in Pakistan. She's also American. So like Sahara said, these stories are common in our community. And so it, you know, obviously child marriages happen all over the world, but you know, not to the degree that it happens in Muslim families.
Can I say one more thing? I just remember
Yes, of
something,
course.
because Ellaf, when she was sharing her story being 14, which is horrifying, that actually happened to some of my friends where I grew up. I remember this girl, she was, I believe 13 or 14, and we were friends, and she was married to child marriage, forced marriage, where to this guy, like a Islamic teacher, he was mullah. He was like a madrasa, you know, teaching Islamic school, 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗪, or, you know, the school, Islamic school. And he was, I believe, almost like 60 years old, and she was 14. And I remember her escaping, like running away, but then her brother got her and beat her and told her, if you don't marry this guy, then we disown you. Basically, we're gonna disown you, or we're gonna kill you. That's, you know, so she had to go through this. It's just so close. These are stories when I hear the world I came from, the world where I grew up and I was born, it's just normalized. But then it's happening in the United States, it's happening in Canada, it's happening in Europe, these things like that are not legal. it's just more like, it just makes me sick to my stomach. We need to be a better human, and we need to stop this bullshit. We need to speak out more, because this hit so close home. Because I remember my friend being forced into this, and she went through. She went through, married this just ugly, horrifying, like he was a control freak, and it's just sick. It's really sick. Why are we silent? Why are we not? It just frustrates me when I don't see stories like this in the mainstream media. And just recently, I'm sorry, I know I'm ranting. Recently, I was in a training, and I'm writing an article on this, and I will publish. They were talking about victimization. They're talking about, oh, brown people and Black people are being victim, and racism. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist or discrimination doesn't exist in the United States. However, you are silent. Stories such as little girls being mutilated every day, fucking in United States even. But you are talking about racism, which is actually my skin color doesn't. I can walk around, and I don't wear my skin color. I don't wear the pigment of my skin color. I can be the person I am today. Actually, being in the United States, living in the United States, I'm more free. I'm more free than being in back where I grew up. So it's just horrifying. I can hear victimization, and I'm not saying those stories, some of them don't exist or not. I don't value. Yes, people, if they go through, we should not discriminate another being.
The thing is their voices get to be heard. I think, Sahara, is what you're saying. It's like
what I'm
when
saying, but why are
our
you not
voices don't get to be heard? Because whenever we try to speak up, we're called Islamophobic. And Ellaf's story should be a huge movie. Like this, she should have directors and producers banging down her door going, oh my God, how is this real life? How did you survive this? But nobody is going to want to do that, because everybody's going to be afraid of being called Islamophobic or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But if she was just a regular American girl, if she wasn't of Iraqi descent, if she wasn't from a Muslim family, and she had gone through what she'd gone through, she would be a household name. So that's the thing. It's like we are being discriminated against
under the banner of being supportive.
Exactly. Yeah.
And irony of this is that Ellaf's story, and every story like that, is a truly American story of individual getting on her own feet, using her own mind, her own strength, and achieving what she achieved despite all circumstances. You can shoot 1 million of Hollywood movies about it. It's a true American story.
Yeah. 100%.
Yes, and that being said, I just want to say, yes, we are survivors. We are not like, victims that being used for political tools or whatever they wanted. We are survivors, and we will share our story, even if we are silent from the mainstream media. We are not going to be silent, because no more silent, and F the rest, and keep speaking, you guys. And we have to, don't worry about, if you want to listen. If you don't, then take your bullshit and your whatever savior complex and whatever you have, and just leave us alone, and we will continue to speak. And thank you, everybody, and continue to say no to Momo.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's right. If they won't tell our stories, we'll tell each other's stories, and that's exactly what we're doing here. So thank you so much, Ellaf, for sharing yours today so incredibly bravely. I just want to make sure that you've had an opportunity to say everything that you want to say before we wrap up. Was there any sort of final words you wanted to leave us with today?
I just wanted to thank everybody for sticking around and listening, having me, taking the time out of your busy days. I really do appreciate you. And, for the longest time I was silent and I wouldn't speak up because of multiple reasons, but I found a connection and I found a belonging with people like you guys, and thank you. It's helping me heal. So I talk about it. It's helping me to feel better, knowing that I do have support, So thank you.
Oh my God, you were such a sweetheart. Thank you so much. Those are beautiful, beautiful parting words. And thank you so much to everybody who joined us here today. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Good night, everyone.
Bye.